everybody. So it's Tuesday. We're actually recording this and releasing this on the same day. That doesn't happen very often.
Happens all the time.
We don't record and release on the same day, typically.
Just the Otter Creek stuff.
Well, the Otter Creek stuff, yes. So this is an Otter Creek meeting tonight, and so we're doing the pre-video or the pre-meeting minutes, where we're going over the agenda. So what do you notice in the agenda?
That there's not much going on.
There really isn't much going on.
And I'm shocked.
Yeah,
because you're close to elections, you have a good board, you should be using all this time to get a lot done, and they really haven't been. Yeah. Like every meeting has been pretty, let's roll through it, get done quick, no new nothing.
They're not really being that as transparent as I would have liked to see them be, because there is a lot going on in the background. They just don't bring it to the meeting, and I don't understand that. But that's the way they've always done things outside of what you and Zim were trying to get done. But previous to your administration, the meetings, some of them were 5 minutes, literally. They'd open it, nothing new, and close it, which is not the correct format. So they did get a little better with the formatting. But, you know, as we've already discussed previously, they've taken the prayer out of the meetings. I guess nobody wanted to run the prayer.
Yeah, and some people from the comments are happy about that. Some aren't. I mean, you're never going to please everybody with everything you do. Some people will argue that prayer doesn't belong in the government political kind of setting, but if you go to any of the surrounding towns or even here, we've been to a meeting and they say prayer.
Yeah.
So it's quite common in most of the places, but I think people just don't want to do that extra bit.
When people say separation of church and state, that's not what it means. It doesn't mean you can't pray over your meetings and the leaders of the meetings. That's absolutely not what it means. So it just means that it just means that the church or religion should not be involved in the governmental policies. Is more in line with what it means. It doesn't mean you can't pray over a meeting. It's totally not what it means. So anyway, looking over the agenda, what do you obviously see that's missing? I guess there's nothing in the agenda really.
Well, you have to run through it and then we can talk about that.
Okay. Well, let's do that. So we have
giving you that job.
Yeah, you kind of. Madam Mayor's been kind of under the weather the last couple days, so she wants me to kind of take the lead on this. So this is my new doing the agenda.
It's his first time here, apparently. He hasn't been paying attention at all.
Well, we're going to stumble through it. So first up, we do the roll call, the pledge, and the members Jim will go down all the members' names, and they'll say here, here, here. So they get roll call. And then they stand and do the pledge, and then first they call the meeting to order. Obviously, the hammer, call the meeting to order, then run through all that, and then we get down to old business, approval of the agenda. So first thing is everybody on the board needs to be pre-read, right, on the agenda or on the agenda. They need to approve the agenda, so they need to be pre-read on the agenda. So they kind of need to come to the meeting having done a little bit of homework, right?
They should.
They're not going to sit there and wait for them to read through the agenda to approve it. So are they just going to...
they get packets ahead of time.
They do. Now, do they read them? We can't speak to that. We hope they do.
From what I've seen in the past, when they're flipping through all the pages trying to read it, then I assume that they have not.
So they're really voting to approve the agenda, not having read it. So that's our assumption. So we're making a little bit of an assumption just by the way that they hurry through the papers when they get the packet, like 10 minutes before the meeting.
But that's the easiest one to read, so I would assume that they've read it.
Yeah, so we're going to assume assumptions on the positive here and say that they've read it and they're ready to vote on it. So they vote to approve it. That usually passes. In fact, have you ever seen one not pass?
No.
I don't think I have either. So, and then
it's
we get
a good time to add stuff in.
Yeah, it's actually it's a living document, so it can be used to add to or take away from.
Well, the approval time is when you go over that stuff.
Right. We have the approval of the minutes from the January 27th meeting. So they'll take a vote on that, and that usually passes unless there's some interjection.
Yeah, now they usually pass because Don's not there to argue about it, and Russell's not there to object. And this board has been doing everything in agreement. Everything's been passing. There haven't been any issues, so you don't have all that bickering back and forth. Yeah. So that's a good thing. Everything has been passing, and then when people have questions, they've been answered because they ask them appropriately instead of being argumentative and trying to shoot everything down. They just want to be educated, and I think that's good. It's the opportunity for the board to explain everything, not only to the other board members but also to the public that's in attendance, because your meeting time and only one a month doesn't give you much time. That's why I'm surprised that they're not going over more things. Yeah. Because you only have that one time a month to really let the people in your town know what's going on, what you're doing, what accomplishments, what challenges. Mm-hmm. That's your time to really address the people and let them know the areas that need more help or where you're shining, what you've accomplished. I mean, that's the transparency that you want with any government agency going forward, is to see everything that's happening, because not everything happens fast, and you want progress notes, but I don't see a lot of that happening with that type of transparency. But I at least like that they're explaining things and people are asking questions before they pass some of the stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they've all been going forward. So when you cut out all the fighting, actual stuff can get done, and that's a blessing.
Yeah, so that's a lot different than it's been in previous years.
I hope that doesn't go away with the new board.
Yeah, we hope so. I guess time will tell. So first thing up, they have old business. It's the first reading of ordinance 2025-01. So this is the first ordinance in 2025. It's an ordinance of the town of Otter Creek, Florida, amending the town charter and the town code of ordinances regarding elections, changing the dates of the announcement of date of election, designation of seats available, and qualifying dates, adopting election procedures by ordinance, repealing prior election procedure resolutions and ordinances, and establishing the effective dates. This is a new reading of ordinance 2402, which did not pass due to not having a second reading. So due to wrong posting date in the newspaper. So it was a misprint or misposting in the paper, so they have to vote on it again. So it looks like they just renumbered it as 2501.
So that means actually that last year they only passed one new ordinance. Yeah. Because the original reading was 2024 too. So with the new board, not really much different had passed. No new ordinances really came into play. It's a shame that there was a misprint on the date, because I know
it costs money.
It cost a lot of money to run the stuff in the newspaper, and I suspect that's how the newspaper even stays in business, is with these legal requirements for the posting, to post in a source that nobody even reads anymore. Yeah, so
there used to be, I believe there used to be two newspapers in the county, but they only have one now, and it's really only used as a legal doorstep, I'll say, so that the government, and I say the government, the local government posting, like the courthouse does it all the time, Levy County that is, and they post it so they can say that everybody has had a chance to read it and react to it. And then they post it again because it's a requirement, and then they check the block and they approve it. The problem is nobody anymore reads the paper.
They really need an online format,
Yeah.
and the newspapers do have an online format. However, legally, you still have to put it in the print.
So it's really easy to sneak something in past the people if the people aren't paying attention. And the vast majority of the people, they're not really concerned about this stuff if it doesn't reach into their wallet.
Right.
And that's sad, but that's the way it is. And I'd like to see them do away with the whole newspaper thing. Like that's dated way of doing things. But
plus, it would save these smaller towns, especially, a lot of money. Because, like I said, it does add up when you have to buy those ads.
So they probably got a little bitty posting in the legal section, the classifieds in the very back, and it probably cost the town a couple $100. I mean, I don't know what the exact printing prices were, but I did know, and I was like, oh my God, so they're paying that much? Is that what it's costing? And I was kind of floored, because I thought maybe $20-$30, no big deal, but it's a couple $100.
Yeah.
And that could be a lot to a small town.
Definitely can.
Anyway, getting on to new business, it says nothing at this time, and I can't believe there's nothing.
I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked. But if you've noticed in the past couple of meetings in the agendas, it's either in the old business or the new business that you would see that.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but I feel like there should always be something.
Yeah, I'm not really. They're already starting to get into the department reports, but before we go there, I'd like to know, I haven't heard anything yet, and I guess it could come in the announcements, but it really should come here in the new business. Any progress they may have made on the website. Remember, several months ago now, it's been 3 or 4 months at least, there was an announcement made by the clerk that they were going to start doing automatic payments for the water bill on their website, but we went on their website as late as yesterday and saw that there's still no further action. All the links on the website, you click on them and they don't, they're not active. It says under maintenance or something like that. Like they're not active.
Yeah, I was surprised yesterday when I was checking on the website again, because I always want to make sure I'm up to date on stuff, and I went in there, no agenda, no minutes, no can't pay your water bill through there. So I was surprised because it's been so long, and last I knew GatorWorks was the one doing it, and if they're still the ones who are supposed to be doing it, I'd be asking for a refund, because as far as I knew, they paid to have this done, and nothing's been done. You just have a shell of a website sitting there saying coming soon, yada yada, and nothing's really happening. So I don't know what the disconnect is, if GatorWorks is still involved in it, what's happening there, but it's a huge letdown in my opinion.
And being that no one's really being allowed to ask the board any questions anymore, like how can the public that is coming to the meetings, how can they say, hey, we would like some more transparency on this subject, like what's going on with the website? No, they can't ask because they don't want them to be asked. So it seems like they're pulling back on the transparency, and that concerns me, because anybody that moves out of the light into the darkness by not being transparent, they usually have something to hide. That just concerns me. I'm not making any I'm not trying to say that they are hiding anything. We just don't know, and that's the problem. When you don't know, why don't you know?
I just think in this time and era with all the technology, everything has gone forward into everything is being filmed. And I understand a lot of people don't like the new way of doing things, but you really can't go back. That's not an option. And I know they would like to go back to having no one filming it, nobody talking about it.
Nobody attending.
There's no pressure. Nobody's attending. You can just do whatever. And not even because somebody's trying to do anything malicious, just it adds a lot of pressure to do everything on point when you're being filmed. And some people are very nervous about making mistakes, and it's not because they're doing anything malicious, but that it gives them anxiety, and maybe then they make more mistakes because they have so much anxiety. But this is the way things are now. You have to embrace it and go forward. Otherwise, I guess you shouldn't be in those positions that put you on camera or in the spotlight. If you aren't ready to accept those things, then unfortunately you can't be in that position.
Yeah.
But this is the way the world runs now, and everybody wants to shine light on stuff and be transparent, have it on film. So I would have thought again that they would have done a channel, because not for nothing, but there's so many people that don't want to attend the meetings because drama, or because they just don't like to leave their house. They don't like germs, or COVID had brought out a lot of the germophobia, and I can understand that now. I'm sick again. Yeah. And there's a lot going on in this world, and some people like to just stay in their house and be in their little bubble, and that's fine. But
don't run for a seat.
That's another reason that it should be live streamed for these people, so they can still know what's going on and not be punished for not attending. Mm-hmm. So I wish that they would have embraced live streaming the meetings.
They could live stream and turn comments off.
Right. They don't have to have any of that, so they don't have to deal with any extra
negative comments, because
it's all neutral and unbiased, and it would be a neutral, unbiased viewing.
Basically, the information would flow in one direction.
Right, and then they could have microphones where people could actually hear what's going on. Those are the big things that I wish that they would have embraced more. Because it would appear like after the festival meeting, where Zim was thanking the YouTube channels for covering the festival and bringing attention to the town. So on the one hand, we want it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we're not embracing it to provide a good sound quality. It's only when we want it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to...
Well, Travis did a lot of the work on getting the vendors there, too. I don't think they could have done that without his help.
Right. And I know when the sound used to get set up back in the day, Jeremy came in to do sound setups. Robert had done some sound setups, so different people came in to do that stuff. But
none of them embraced it. They didn't want to talk into the microphones. They didn't want to learn how to turn it on or set it up. So it just kind of dropped. Because
good attention can obviously help out the town. If you have a group of people that are invested in this town, which there's a very large group of people all over the world that are invested in this town that want it to do well. So you have that aspect. So if you were showing it and putting it in a way that people can see it and hear it, you might get more help with different things when you need it.
And there's at least a dozen people in the town that want good for the town, but they just don't want to get involved. And hey, we didn't want to get involved, but we had to get involved because we just couldn't take what was going on anymore.
Right. If you don't get involved in different things, and it's like that with all different things. You have Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, the PTA, all these different organizations, and most of them are all run by volunteers.
And if you choose not to get involved, then
there's no organization and nothing happens.
Don't expect anything to change if you're not willing to step forward and be the one to create change.
So in a lot of circumstances, you have to put your best foot forward and just get over whatever and get out there and do what needs to be done if you want to see a good result. Otherwise, you just accept whatever and sit back and it's out of your hands because you ain't dealing with it.
Yeah, and sitting on the board in Otter Creek, try to understand this from a perspective that it's only 100 people. We're not talking about you're trying to get on the board in Tampa, Florida, where there's probably 8 or 9 million people. You're talking about 100 people, and you don't even see all of them may see a dozen of them in a month at different times. So being that it's not that big of a town, it's not that big of a leap to come a little bit out of your comfort zone and try to get on the board, try to make a difference. Or even being the mayor is not a huge step. You know, when you say, oh, you're the mayor of a town, it deserves a certain amount of respect, but it's not, in Otter Creek, it's not that big of a, it's not like you're the mayor of New York City or anything and you're on the national news. Believe me, it's a blip. And even the surrounding towns don't pay attention to Otter Creek. So no one's really, you know, it's not that big of a step to ask the people who care about the town to step forward and help be part of the solution.
Honestly, there should be more going on with the board members that are there. But honestly, most of them just show up at the meeting, vote, and leave, and that's it for the month. Now the mayor does more than any of the other people for that extra $25 a month.
Yeah.
But all the board members should be doing more. There should be somebody involved in each department looking into the streets, looking into the public safety.
Mm-hmm.
There should be someone wanting to help set up the Facebook, a website. You know, you should have more hands-on these different departments, and in other small towns, you do. I mean, each board member has an assignment that they cover, and when they come to the meeting, behind the scenes during the month, they've been heading up different projects with the streets, the public safety, and they come with their reports and say what they've done, what the needs are, but you don't have that in Otter Creek.
Now, we know all the board members personally outside of the board before they got on the board. Zim is not that tech savvy. He's just not interested in techie stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, he does know water plants really well. He understands permitting, he understands zoning, he understands construction requirements. So he's an asset to the town, absolutely. So some of the things he's not so good at is the techie stuff and public speaking. He has a lot of things racing through his mind, but he has a hard time articulating them. And you kind of see that in the board that he talks real soft and he bounces around a little bit. But I believe he has dyslexia too, but I'm not certain on that. I think I've heard that. But that's not a strike against him. It commends him for wanting to get on the board and make a change, knowing that he's going to be in the public eye. You know?
Absolutely, and no one person can be good at everything, which is why you have a team, because everybody has something different to bring to the table. So while one person falls short in that area, this person excels in that area, and if you all come together and share it, then you move forward with a strong team. But if you don't have other people sharing anything and you're the only one up there, kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, we have things that we're good at and we're not good at. Absolutely. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, but when you come together as a team, then you give the strong people the things that they're good at. It's like Belinda. Hey, she's been a saving grace for this town, and I'll be maybe the first to say it publicly. Her spelling isn't the best. And if she's juggling a bunch of balls, she'll drop some of them. She's not real, like, to proofread a document for spelling checks. That's not her thing. She'll forget things. But hey, God bless her for doing what she does. She's good with numbers. She's putting the numbers in the right place.
She's organized with numbers.
So she has some strengths that the town desperately needed.
She soars in so many areas.
Yes.
That, okay, if there's some misspellings and that's the biggest deal, you gotta.
Yeah, it's.
So what?
Not a big deal. So
like I said, there's something with everybody. None of us are perfect at all. And
so,
we all misspell stuff too.
So we know we're going to get some spin on this. Oh, Brett said that Zim can't public speak and Belinda can't spell. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everybody has strengths and weaknesses. So put what I say in perspective. Put it in the right context.
And believe me, everybody knows what their strengths and weaknesses are. And if you sit there and say, well, I'm perfect and there's nothing wrong with me, then I'm sorry, but you're lying. Now, and if you are that perfect, please get in touch with me. I'd love to have lunch with you and find out what's going on, because Last perfect person I knew that walked this earth was Jesus.
Yeah.
So we all have faults and we all have good qualities, but if you can't admit that you're not perfect, then you're not telling the truth. So it's no strike against anybody. I'm not perfect. Brett's not perfect.
Maybe one of my faults is I talk too much. Sometimes I'm guilty of that. See, I would have gotten on the board when I got there, but right away people really didn't like me because one, I wasn't from there. Not really my fault. You know, I moved there, and then I speak my mind. So people are kind of put off by that. Oh, he's coming in here and he thinks he knows everything. That's not what it is. And also, when I was hiring people to clear trees, that was the first thing I needed was people to clear some trees out of the campground. Oh, he's from Alaska. He's got money. You can take money off of him. Where are they getting this from? I was stationed up there because the military, the government sent me there. And then I decided to stay. And I did not make as much money on the outside as I did on the inside. That's contrary to what a lot of people do when they retire or get out. They make more money when they get out. That didn't happen for me. I'm a logistician. There's not a big need for logisticians in Alaska and Fairbanks. So I didn't make the same money. But I wanted so badly to stay in Alaska, so I took less money in order to stay up there. But I'm getting a little off topic, but I'm saying all that to say that there are things that I'm not good at. Yeah, guilty. And there'll be a lot of haters that say, oh, you're not good at anything. Oh, I'm good at quite a few things, actually. I'm good at business. I'm good at running campgrounds and building and expanding campgrounds. I'm good at money management. I think I'm really good at that. So there are things that I am good at, and I'm kind of handy around the house. I fix things. Now, if there's things I don't know, like I've never done window installs. So as you know from our videos, we had some windows installed. Did I participate in that? Nope. Did I watch what they did so maybe I could replace a window? Yep. I asked a lot of questions on camera and off camera. I think now I could possibly put in a window, but it would take me 3 or 4 times longer than it would have taken a team to do it. And plus, if they do it, you get a warranty. So for me, I'd rather make that money somewhere else, pay them, and let them do it. So if it's something I'm not proficient in, like a window, it's pretty important to get your windows put in properly and to get them right, get them sized right. That was the hardest thing, is knowing how to measure a space to get a window in. So that's not my forte. So, but things that I'm guilty of that maybe I'm too much of is, sometimes I'm too talky and
as you've just displayed.
As I've just showed you. So I'm not perfect.
But I mean, I think the biggest things you can do for yourself in life is to recognize what your strengths and weaknesses are,
right.
Admit to them, be able to laugh at yourself, because we all have plenty of things people love to poke at you about for whatever reason. I guess it makes them feel better about themselves when they can poke at you, which, I feel sad for people in that way, but hey, we all do it. We've all done it at times. But you got to be able to laugh at yourself and admit the things that are wrong with you. And if you know how to laugh at yourself, then when other people are sitting there poking at you and carrying on, that stuff is really not even going to bother you. Oh, geez, that person just said I was fat. Like, I didn't know that. Or thanks for letting me know. She's got a big nose. I only look at myself in the mirror every day. I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know.
Right.
Like, those are all things I already know.
I got a bald spot. Ooh, who knew?
But I don't let any of those things wreck my day. When people make comments about that, I often think, ooh, I feel bad for this person because they're not feeling good about themselves right now. So they're trying to make themselves feel better by poking at me. So I'll just say a little prayer for that person that, I hope that they can feel better about themselves and whatever's going on, because that's not really what you should be doing. You should be trying to pick each other up. But you have to learn to laugh at yourself a lot. Otherwise, when people do poke at you like that, it's going to wreck your day.
Do some of you guys remember Scott Baio back in the days, Happy Days, all that, Scott Baio? Well, I kind of had a hairstyle like him when I was younger. It was parted down the middle and feathered back. So I had a nice hair back in the day, but ever since about my 30-ish, mid-30s, I got a bald spot. I got bald really young. My dad got bald when he was like under 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
He started to bald. Yeah, so it's hereditary, so I can't do anything about it. So as soon as I got to where I didn't like my hair anymore, the receding hairline and all that, and I hated my hair, I just keep it short. So when it's really short, it doesn't bother me because you don't see those. It's like, who cares? One day I might decide to shave it and go bald, but I'm a little afraid of what my head looks like, you know? So the way it is, it's not perfect, but this is the best I can do with it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm not going to go buy Rogaine. I'm not going to spend money. I'm just not going to do it. Hair is not that big of a deal to me. I think I probably look better in a ball cap. I wear a ball cap sometimes. I don't wear them that often anymore, but I just don't pay attention to my hair. I mean, I don't see myself unless I'm in front of a mirror. But so
we have really gotten way off topic.
We've gotten way off topic.
Woo!
So anyway, I say all that to say that I didn't think I had a good chance of trying to get on the board. So I decided not to run. But then when I met Therese, she's a perfect candidate for the board because people already knew her from the post office and they already liked her. She's a very likable person. So she has a different persona than I do. I come off as being kind of rash and condescending at times. And I understand that. And she comes off as being more welcoming, more warming. And I get that. So I was like, hey, you need to get on the board. And she was resistant to it at first, and then she started seeing what was going on, and then she eventually just decided, the following year to try to get on the board. So when Rex bought the campground, I told him the same thing. He has kind of a calmer demeanor. He's a very quiet guy. He's a studious guy. He's a smart guy. He's a business-oriented guy. I said, hey, you need to try to get on this board. If you want to get involved in this town, it would help your campground if you have some say on the board. I mean, just to kind of know what's going on with ordinances and permitting and that kind of thing. It would be good to be in the know, so you might want to get on the board. It's not to say that you can control the board. Absolutely not. It's just to say that you might want to hear what's going on, and the only way you hear what's going on in that town is, to be near the board or on the board, or at least go to the meetings. And so I advised that to him, and he took me up on it. So that's good. And I think he's a good member of the board. He's smart. He's studious. He sits back. He's not real vocal. He's not as vocal as I am. It's kind of hard to get him to talk. You got to ask him questions to get stuff out of him. But he's a really nice guy.
I think most people are not as vocal to you as you are.
Right.
But I'm always like, okay, stop. You've said enough.
We got way off topic. But so that's how the board members came about. We try to recommend the best people get on the board, the ones that, are smart, and the ones that we think can get the votes that they need to get on the board. Because, if you're like me and you just don't, because I did an honest assessment of myself, and I didn't think I was the person to be on the board. Not because I couldn't do it. I could more than do it. It was more about I know I'm not perceived as probably being the right person to be on the board. And I recognized that. And so I tried to nominate those people. I was like, hey, I think you should get on the board. Now, she could say no. She absolutely could say, I ain't getting involved in that.
I did say no for quite a while.
You did. And
I had lots of people telling me to get in. Don was one of them. He was trying to get me to be clerk.
Clerk first.
He was trying to get me to be on the board for a while, but I really don't want to get involved because, again, like we were talking about, it's easier to not get involved. But then when you keep seeing all this wrong stuff happening, eventually it's like, okay, I can't.
The only way to change
I can't keep watching
is
this.
to get on the board.
And then when other townspeople were, I thought they should have ran for the board, but they didn't want to, and they, wanted a voice and they wanted things different. So it's like, okay, I guess I gotta bite the bullet and do this. But yeah, I resisted for quite a while. I didn't want to get involved, but it seemed like nobody else did want to either. So yeah, is what it is.
Yeah, I think Scott from Woodworks, I think he'd be a good member of the board. He's also a quiet guy. He's a studious guy. He's a smart guy. I don't know if he has time anymore, but if he ever moves back to the town, if they've decided to move back into town, they have several parcels.
He lives in the town.
Does he live there now? Okay, I know he was going back and forth for a while. I think they have at least 3 properties in the town, so he would have an invested interest in ordinances and permits, I would think, and might be good for him to get on the board. I hope maybe he sees this video and thinks about it, because I don't know that I've approached him about it before. Maybe I've mentioned it in casual conversation. I haven't.
Probably you seem to mention it to everybody.
Yeah, I haven't had that much correspondence.
But again, he doesn't want to get involved.
Yeah, he's one of those that's like, I don't want to get involved.
Nobody wants to get involved.
Right, you know. So, and like some people say, well, Jeremy'd be good on the board. Well, he's kind of like me. He's a little vocal. He rubs people the wrong way, and I actually, absolutely, he would be phenomenal on the board. Absolutely.
He doesn't have time for that.
He doesn't have time. Making money is where his head is, and that's where he wants to be. So he's happy doing that. Let him do what he's doing. He would be good on the board, but he would be in a category like I would be, where a lot of people would not want to see him on the board, and he may not be able to harness the votes because he speaks his mind. So I think we would be very much in that same category. It would be a challenge for him to get the votes. I'm not saying he couldn't. He might could. I don't know. I might could. I don't know. But if you have to guess, I'd say not. So anyway, let's move on with our.
Are you sure you're done?
Yeah, I'm done. As fun as this has been.
You should have got a job where you talk a lot.
I got one.
Where?
Right here.
I don't know what else you're going to talk about with this agenda.
Yeah, so there's not much. So we move into the departmental reports, and again, you have admin, you have maintenance, public safety, building, zoning, and water. And usually Zim speaks to the water, and sometimes he speaks to the public zoning and building permitting, but he hasn't in a while, and I don't know where they stand on that. I think you have to go and hire your own permit official to process that way. That sounds very expensive to me. It used to be the county does it. They won't do it anymore. So I'm just glad we got all ours done when the county was doing it, because it would be much more expensive to try to do it now.
I can't comment on that because I really don't know.
Yeah, I did all
what they're doing.
I did all the permitting, running around.
Yeah, but you don't know what the town is doing now. So.
Yeah, now I can't speak to it. They've changed the way they do things now. So, anyway, and they don't have any extra notes here on that. So the department heads used to speak in each department, but they're not assigned anymore per se. So Zim will just speak to the water at the end if he speaks to the water.
They don't always speak about anything. Belinda's supposed to give what's going on in administration. There should always be something to say.
Something should be always going on.
Always.
The water is the one thing that they have. That's it.
And you know what I don't see at all on this agenda?
What's that?
Anything about the elections.
Yeah. How come nothing was mentioned in the meetings about the elections?
I was surprised at the last meeting that they didn't announce who was running.
Right.
And I don't see anywhere on this agenda where they're announcing who's running. So hopefully they just go over that anyway. But so far I don't see any announcements of who's running or any talk about the election at all. It's April 1st. You're already into February. So you really have one more meeting after this before the elections occur, and then the people who get voted in April will get seated in May. I think they kept that still, which
I think
they should be seated in April personally, but whatever. So I mean, it's coming fast, time is flying, and I hear no talk about it. Now they did post who's running, and I have that.
Okay.
So we can just real quick talk about the official who's running on the sample ballot. So the 2-year seat, you have Jeff Berry, Russell Meeks Sr., Zim Paget, Linda MLA Preston, Don Severino, and Rex Woods.
Those are the names for the 2-year seat.
And then for the 1-year seat, you have Carl Hughes and Stuart Stewart.
Yep.
So that's the official posting with the sample ballot that they did make. I don't know that they'll be announcing anything in the meeting, so
they'll be casting 4 votes. Everyone will be casting 1 vote for the 1-year seat. There's 2 people. And they'll be casting 3 votes for the 2-year seat. And you have, 5 or 6 people running for 3 seats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So you have 6 people running for those 3 seats. So half of them will make it, and half of them won't. So get out there and vote, people. It's important. So do you have anything else for the meeting? Going back to the meeting? No. All right. So we'll see what happens. We hope that they make some comments or something, some updates about the progress of the water. Also about certain administrative, something about the voting coming up. That we have I don't know, I think they should make like a formal announcement. I think it should have been in the minutes, but I don't know. It's weird that it's kind of not even mentioned and they just put it up on the board and just let it go.
I don't know. I always like to talk about everything.
Yeah.
Bring it all out and talk about what's happened, what the needs are, the whole 9 yards. But
not everything they do is going to be interesting to everybody, but it doesn't have to be. If it's something that's going on, I think it should be in the meeting and discussed if needed, or at least brought to the surface so people hear about it, and then they're not first time hearing about it 6 months from now. But hey, it's their board. We're just spectators, and we're just trying to explain the best we can.
At this point, I'm just hoping I can hear something.
Yeah, we're just hoping that we can hear the meeting tonight. So
just like y'all.
Yeah. So I'll let you wrap it up.
Bye.
Well, thanks for joining us for another pre-meeting video. This is an extra meeting on Tuesday. So this is not one of our normal release days, but this is an extra meeting to talk about the meeting. An extra video, I'm sorry, to talk about the meeting. For those of you that are still interested in following the Otter Creek meetings. So here you have it. And our 2 cents of what we think is going on in Otter Creek, what should go on, and what will happen. So thanks for joining us at Madam Mayor's Adventures, and we'll catch you on the next adventure.
Bye.
Bye.